that to the 21 Shabbos that has Rebbe said many times, they did the ultimate sacrifice. Like when you ask the question, how can such a thing happen? And Rebbe said they had the biggest zchus that they gave their life to protect millions of Yidden. It's sad and everything, but at the same time, it's a huge zchus that they had. They pushed went to protect that another October 7, so it does not happen like that. So for today, I'm a shaman. We have an aliyah. And we should see what Kitzav Anashech Nafel, we should see what Mashiach Tzidkenu, Macha Vayadim Al Kapanim. We shouldn't know of any tears. Talking about Avelos, so the Gemara continues. Last week, we finished off on Daf Chavdal Amid Aleph, in the middle of the page. So by where the wider lines start. So 2 lines before that. We finished off saying a statement by Shmuel. We know that Shmuel was a Poisek. Shmuel was the one that said that when it comes to Avelos, you go the easiest route, whatever is the easiest, called Meichel Avelos. And Shmuel said 2 things. He said that when you do Kriya, when you rent your garment for Kriya, for when you become an Ovel and mourner, it has to be done b'shas chimum. It has to be done at a time when you are greatly upset. When you have chimum means heated, but it means when you are very upset about the situation. You're upset about that you lost a loved one, and if you don't do clear during that time, then it's not considered a clear. That's statement number 1. Statement number 2, he said that back in the days when they would wrap their heads with a shawl, it has to be wrapped the way the Yishmaelim do it, and the Ben Chananel and the Meforshim explain that the wrapping is literally only saw your mouth. It was totally wrapped from all sides, and therefore Shabbos, if you walk around, it's very visible that you're an oval, and you would have to remove it. However, we said already at the end that if you wear shoes on Shabbos, then you can wrap your head around, because obviously people look at your shoes. So you have shoes, and you're not an oval. So we're going to speak a little bit about the Kriya itself. Then we're going to go back a little bit about what type of things you could do on Shabbos, what type of things you should not do on Shabbos. And Mitzad Avelos, if the Shabbos of the sitting Shiva, what you should or should not do. I think about is going to go into a few other topics as well. So I think about Daf Chavdal Amud Aleph. 2 lines from the wide lines, from the top of the wide lines. Kol Kela She'ena B'Shas Chimum. Shmuel said that any kela, any renting of garments, she'ena b'shas chimum, that it was not done at a moment when you're heated, when you're upset about your loss, eine kela. This is not considered a kliya. You were not yoytze kliya. Shmuel, that told Shmuel itself, the one that made a statement, came to him and it told him that your biggest, not opponent, but opponent in learning passed away. Rav Shmuel, Rav passed away. So they came to Shmuel and told him, Noch nafshe de Rav. Rav's nefesh is a Shabbos, is resting. He passed away. Shmuel went, and at different times he ripped his clothing, his garments, and he did it 12 times. 12 garments he ripped. And obviously, the first one you rip when you're very upset. You rip the garment. The second one, third one, fourth, what's the shit? What do you stop? What do you stop? So Shmuel himself that says that you only do kliya when it's heated, he went and ripped 12. Now, to give you a little background, right? We spoke about that the way the Eibishter designed Shiva and Avelos was the Eibishter created every person, human being, how the human psyche works. And the Eibishter put into place that when there is grief, when there is a loss, this is how you are going to process it. There's a processing order. You go, you learn about it, you do Kriya, then you do the first 3 days, then the Shiva, then the Shloshim. Kriya is part of the process. They want you to ruin a garment. You're oivel of batashkas technically. If you ruin a garment that you're not supposed to rip, you make baltashkas or even isim in atayla. But here the Torah tells you this is not about tashkas, because here you're fixing yourself. You're processing a pain. That's how you're going to be able to move on from this pain. So here, the first one, okay, you processed your pain, but then another time and another time and another time. That's why when you do kliya, it has to be at a time when you're so upset that this upsetness gives room for baltashkes, technically, to gives room to rip her clothing, and waste it. And so basically the question here is that how was he able to do that? You said it's only b'shas chimum, and after b'shas chimum, after a heated moment, you can't rip your garments. So Shmuel said by Rav it's different, and so it's for any big person. Ozal Gavra, the person that Rav passed away, the Hava Mistapinim, I would fear him of his questions and his machloikas that he had with me, and the arguments with opinions, and I feared him. He was such a great person. It was one person I feared, and therefore I rent my garment. And later on we're going to see how did the taka happen that he rent this 12 times. The same story happened to Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Chanina passed away, and Rabbi Yochanan went he rent 13 garments, or milsa could be also touched. It's wool garment. Itzli is a rope. So he ripped 13 garments of wool, expensive garments. So the same question: how can he do that? Omar, he said, Ozal Gavro, the Hav Mistapinim, he is a great person that I was scared of. Now, sorry, here's the question now. Even if he's a great person, but still chimum, the upsetness, the heated upsetness, there's only in the beginning. How were you able to do 12? Taki is a big guy, but you're not allowed to waste garments. So the Gemara, Shaina Rabbanon, the Kivan, the call Shaita Mitkara Shmatayu. Kashas Chimudamid. It's different by teachers that have many opinions and said many things. That every time Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan, when they learned, they came to a place in Gemara, they learned something, they discussed something, and his name was mentioned. He remembered that he passed away, and at that moment he became very emotional. His emotions overcame him, and that's why he did clear. So every time the Av's name was mentioned, Shmuel overcame. Every time the Chanida's name was mentioned, Rabbi Yochanan became very emotional, and he ripped his garments. And after a certain time, it was he processed it and he went on, moved on. So it wasn't like an endless amount of garments that he ripped, only 12 and 13. But this is what happened. So we see by a teacher, but someone that the emotions come back again and again, you could rip the garments more than just the first time. On a side note, Tosfos in Chol Kera She'ena B'Shas Chimum, the side, the fifth is on top. So Tosfos asks a question, he basically mentioned that a couple pages ago we mentioned about someone that did not have any garments at all. Someone passed away. We mentioned that he was, and the Gemara over there asks, he was naked. No, we could talk about someone that didn't have his own garments, who was borrowing someone, and it says that if a garment comes to him in the middle of the Shiva, he can rip it then. So the Tosfos asks the question, usually you process things and you move on. You found out someone passed away, you're very upset, but as the days go by, it gets better and better. And therefore the Tosfos is asking, if we say that you're allowed to rip your garments when you're very upset, in that story when the guy didn't have any garments, and now he gets, but he shouldn't be upset anymore. He shouldn't be upset because he went past a couple days. What's pshat? So Tosfos asks, Nira the Hodam Rinan Le'el. That's what we said earlier on Daf Chof. Mishin is Daman Echolog B'Toich Zayin. If someone received a garment during the 7 days, so now he has a garment to rip. Ava B'She'ena Shas Chimum. Now it's not Shas Chimum anymore. So how can you rip the garment? So the Gemara answers a few answers. One answer, Shemo Dafke Kun Shekor Kvan. Maybe over there here we're talking about that the guy already ripped clear, and because he ripped clear, that's why he cannot rip again, because it's not shashchim. That's what the Gemara is saying here. And in that case over there, he never ripped clear. So that part of processing he never did. V'hasam, that's supposed to be fixed. V'hasam, my b'shleikad, and over there in the Mishnah when he never ripped the garments. So basically, to what Tosfos is teaching us, besides the fact there's a question and answer, Tosfos is teaching us, yes, that there is this process that you have to go through, and if you didn't do it, as long as you didn't rip clear, a couple days could go by, but that is part of the process that you have to do, and therefore you can go even a couple days later and do the clear. And then this goes on, it says a couple other answers that it doesn't make a difference. Basically the same idea, that as long as you did not do clear, that piece of the process you did not complete, and therefore any moment after even after the passing, weeks could go by, it will still be considered shaschimum, it will still be considered an emotional time, and you can rip clear that. And the white pages. Okay, zat ik maar weiter. Amalei Ravin ba Odal Rav. Ravin told Rav, Oma Talmidchan of Amram, your Talmid of Amram said like this. Tanya, Ovel called Shiva Koyel Lefonov, and Ovel, and he asked a question again on Shmuel. The Shmuel had said that you only rip one garment when you're very upset, and not multiple garments. What did Amram say? He said like this. Ovel called Shiva Koyel Lefonov. During the Shiva, his ripped garment is in front of him, so every time he sits down, he gets up, he looks at his garment, sees it's ripped. So when he does clear, it's in the front, and it stays in the front. If he decides to switch his clothing, machlif, he could switch his clothing, but then again, and has to do clear again. Shabbos, however, if when Shabbos comes by during Shiva, if he only has one garment, he should flip his garment around, and basically the ripped piece should be in the back, so you don't see it, because it's Shabbos. But on Shabbos, if you want to change it, put on a new clothes, fine, machlif, you can switch your clothing, and then you don't rip your garments again. So the question here is, you see that he puts it on the garment and rips again. He can put every day, technically, according to the Lamalam, he can put on a brand new shirt, and they never have to rip a shirt again. So, and the second, third, fourth, fifth time, at what point do you say it's not chim anymore? So here again, how many garments can you rip? And for the Gemara, we're talking about, this is not about chimum, this is about now showing respect for your father and your mother. And basically, the respect, if you change your garments and you can sit Shiva without the ripped garment, it's going to show that you're laughing at the whole thing. So for the cover of the father and mother, you're allowed to rip the garments. But this is nothing to do with the fact that you are very emotional about someone passing away. On this one we just said, a side note, we're just sidestepping, we just finished the Shmuel's statement. It says that you're only allowed to rip your garments when you're upset. This Amnon said that every time he rips his garments, every time he changes his garments, he has to rip it again. The question is, can he fix them afterwards? We said that the first garment that you rip, so for a long time you're not supposed to fix it at all, and then you could do a very rough stitches, and then you can do later on, you can do nice stitches. For a parent passes away, you can't fix it at all. But these garments that you do, the second, the third, fourth kriya, what about those? Can you do a fine stitch back to put it back in its regular place? They were friends, and they were arguing. And one of them said that you cannot, we don't know who it is. And the Gemara is going to, in a moment, going to try to establish who they think it was. So one said that they cannot fix it back to the regular the way it was before. You could fix it back. The Gemara is saying, let's come to a conclusion. It was the father of Rav Oishia that said that you cannot fix it. Why? Because we see a statement of Oishia, the son of the guy that said it, and he says that the Omer of Oishia ein misachin, that you're not, even those second, third, fourth garment that you rip, you cannot fix back. Man Shmirle, who did he hear it from? Lav Me'avur, didn't he hear it from his father? So Mele, his father is the one that says that you cannot fix it, and therefore Bakapada is going to be the one that would say that you could fix it. And for the Gemara, Loi, he heard it from Bakapada. Why? They were friends of Oishia and Bakapada. And the father of Oishia was friends with Bakapada, and the father of Oishia sent Rav Oishia to learn by his Bal Plukta, by the guy that he was always arguing with. And he heard from Bakapada, his Rebbe, and he went according to his Rebbe's opinion and not according to his father's opinion. So therefore, the Bakapada is the one that said you can fix it, and the father of Rav Oishia would say that you could fix the garments that you ripped, the subsequent garments that you ripped. Omar Rava, got a new statement. Ovel mitayel beunkeli betoich beisi. An ovel is allowed to walk around on Shabbos. We're talking about Shabbos. Shabbos, where you're supposed to cover yourself up and not show avelus befadesi, and not show that you're an ovel to the public. But inside your house, you can walk around beunkeli, which is a rope that has a kliya, that has a rib, inside your house. So, here's the story. Abai Ashkel of Yosef, the Poesle Suda Aresha. Abaya found of Yosef that his head wrapped around with a shawl, like you would do when you're an oval. And he would walk around inside his house, not outside his house. Inside his house, he put a head covering. Amalei. So he went over to the Yosef and said, doesn't the teacher agree? Ein avelos b'Shabbos. You don't do any avelos b'Shabbos. Amalei. So he answered him, Hacham Rabbi Yochanan. This is what Rabbi Yochanan said. Dvar shebetzina noiheg. Adav shebetzina, you have a minute that you should do it. So therefore, what comes out here is there's three things. During Shiva, you have to do whatever they say you have to do during Shiva. Cover your head, you walk barefoot, you have to turn over your bed, etc., etc. During Shabbos, so it depends. Certain things you don't do because we know already that certain things you're not supposed to do on Shabbos. You're not going to walk. Your bed has to be turned over because people can see that your bed is upside down, so you have to turn it back. These are the things that are, even though they're inside the house, but the public could find out about, like wrapping your head, walking with your shoes. Then there are things that are so betzina, so private that no one would know, like Tashmish Hamita. These are the things that are very private, and those things you're not supposed to do on Shabbos. When you're in the middle of Shiva, you're not supposed to do on Shabbos. So the dvarim shebetzina you can do. The dvarim that are public, you have to make sure that you don't do them. And there are certain things, according to what the rabbis have taught us now, that publicly you're not allowed to. When you're inside a house, not only should you show avelos, but you have to do avelos. Noyag, you have to do these avelos, like wrapping your head inside the house when no one is there. You should do that.
Question is, the Kriya of Shas Chimum, what relevance does it end up having if we end up determining, regardless, that if a person never did it, they have to do it anyway? A person never ended up didn't have clothes. He gets clothes a few days later. He has to do Kriya anyway.
Correct.
So a person's going to end up doing Kriya regardless.
So that's
what Shas Chimum has no relevant
right.
result.
So I had a question. I had a question because at the end of the day, according to especially what Tosfos is saying, that basically it's mashma. That's what I'm saying. It's mashma that until you do the Kriya, there is a certain type of chimum. First of all, Tosfos gives an answer. Anytime that you reawaken that upsetness, so you consider that shas chimum. But basically, what it means is, like I said, there's a process with avelos. There's a process. You have to do the kriya in order to get by that piece. You have to do it. As long as you did, maybe it slowly weans off, but that will be called shas chimum till the end, until you finally do it.
So then this halacha has no relevance.
Because,
regardless, if you're saying the shas chimum regardless, the halacha has no relevance, unless it's relevant after Shiva.
I hear you. I hear the same question, and I don't know this. I don't know the answer. It doesn't make a difference. You have to do clear. It doesn't make a difference if chimum or not.
Doing it regardless. Yeah. Okay.
It could mean otherwise. It could mean a little bit different. It could mean that when you do clear, you have to push it, sit, reflect, and awaken in yourself a chimum.
It could.
And then you are allowed to do it. And then basically that is you're allowing yourself to get over that grief. By, how do you get over grief? You talk about it, you process it, you speak to someone. That is part of the thing. You work yourself into a chimum, and then it could be, I don't know. Essentially I had the same question. If you do a kriya till the end, then...
Unless there's one kriya that has to be done regardless. If it comes to a second and third kriya, that could only be done if there's chimum. I don't know.
But second or third kriya was not a regular thing. This was the question of it was a teacher, so he brought it up chimum again, but it's not a...
Maybe that's why they brought the Maisa. I'm just saying...
Could be. 100%. Okay. Zot die Gemara weiter. Rabbi Lazar, Oime Meshicha, Besamigdash, Atzel Shabbos. In the Mishnah we've said, on Daf Yutes, we said the Gemara that someone passes away before Yontif. Then the Yontif is mafsik the Avelus. The Yontif is mafsik the Shiva. And it stops it. If someone passes away during Yontif, you can't start the Shiva until the Yontif is over. Shabbos is different. Shabbos, it doesn't stop the Avelus, and also if someone passes away on Shabbos and it happens to be buried, whatever it is, then the Shiva could technically start on that same day. So Shabbos is Oilen, but Yontif is not. So on there the Gemara brings another machlekes. What is with 3 Yom Tovim. What is with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? Rosh Hashanah is one long day, 2 days of Yom Tov, but one long day. Yom Kippur is 1 day Yom Tov. And Shavuos, in his time of Beis Hamikdash, Shavuos was 1 day, Vav Sivan. And the next 7 days was Tashlumin. Until Yud Beis was Tashlumin. You were able to make up. If you forgot to bring the Korban, you couldn't make it on 1 day of Yom Tov, so you can come and make Tashlumin. So during that time, those days were considered like a Yom Tov. And even today, we don't say Tachnun in those days. But what happens Bizman Hazeh? When there's no Beis Hamikdash, are those days considered part of Yom Tov? And what will happen if someone is starting to sit Shiva right before Shavuos? Is it considered like a Shabbos because it's 1 day, or is it considered like a Yom Tov because essentially it's a Yom Tov, and therefore you skip? So Rab Lazar said like this. Rab Lazar said in the Mishnah, Beis Hamikdash Atzeres Shabbos, that the Shavuos became just like Shabbos. It's not like Yom Tov; it's like Shabbos, and therefore, what does it mean? That if someone passed away before Shavuos, you sit Shiva, you stop during Shavuos, it's counted as one of the Shiva, you continue the Shiva afterwards. And the Tanakama and then the Mecham and the Mishnah are Chaylik that says no. They say no. Zadig Gemara, Rab Lazar Mishachar Beis Hamikdash Atzeres Shabbos. Amar Rav Gida bar Menashe, Amar Shmuel, Halacha Gram Gamliel. The halacha is like Gram Gamliel in the Mishnah. Ram Gamliel says that Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Shavuos are all like a regular Yom Tov. So Rav Gida bar Menashe said that the halacha is Gram Gamliel. There are 2 Tosfos in here that actually belong back there. And one of them is basically just changing Lashon and saying that the Akiva was missing the word also, that not only is Shavuos like Yom Tov, but also Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And in the bottom test we'll go in a second. So Avik the Masnit, so 2 lines in the bottom. Avik the Masnit, Ahod Rav Gida bar Menashe. Aho. Rav Gida bar Menashe said a statement that this is the halacha. So some people say that this statement was about something else. What was it about? We're going to go through, it's a whole story. At the end, we're going to figure out what exactly he wants to say the halacha. Very interesting halacha over here. There's a halacha, if a baby passes away before it reaches 30 days, it's considered a nefel, and he, unfortunately, don't have to sit shiva, and you don't have to go through avelus and nicham avelim. But then there's different levels and different stages when the baby grows older. So let's see. And also how you bring it out, and how the shiva, how the actual burial happens is very different. So kol shleishim yoyim, the first 30 days if a baby passes away, tinag yoytze b'cheik, you can literally take out the baby to the cemetery, holding him in your arms, holding him in the arms. Or v'nikbal, and he could be buried be'isha achas v'shnei anoshim. He can be buried when they go out, and it's not a big levaya, so very few people go. So at that time, who can go? So like this, because if there's a problem of yichud, so one man and one woman cannot go if they're not related. And so he says here, so one man and one woman cannot go. It could be either 2 men or 2 women. It could be 2 men and 1 woman, but not 2 women and 1 man, because according to halacha of tznius of yichud, 2 women cannot be misyachet with one man. So he says like this, that even though Rashi speaks about this, Rashi mentions this, and I believe, Rashi Ksav Yoshin mentions, what's the hava meaning? Why would you even think that something inappropriate would happen in a cemetery? So Rashi says, which also points back to this entire thing of the process in grief. Why don't you have a parent had a baby, and the baby will die in the first 30 days? It's not pain. For sure, it's pain. It's a lot of pain. You're waiting so long for the baby to be born, and the baby passes away, and you don't go through any process of grieving, of shiva, of anichum avelim. You don't go through this whole entire thing. So Rashi says, all the way in the bottom of Ksav Yoshan, kivan the leka elot tzad puta. There is pain, but there isn't a lot of pain. And because there isn't a lot of pain, people might lose themselves in a cemetery when they are with another woman and do something inappropriate. But here it's pointing out again. When it is someone that you know for many years, the pain is much greater. When it's someone that you didn't know, you didn't manage to spend time with him, with the baby for long, there is pain. Rashi doesn't say there isn't pain. There is pain, a little pain, and therefore, they will do something inappropriate. Abba Shaul on the other side disagrees. Says even in such a time there is pain. In any case, the halacha is like this: that v'nikba be'isha achas v'shnei anoshim, and when they do the kvuda, they can go out mitzad yichud. It's only one woman and two men, but not one person, a male and two females. Abba Shaul says no. You could go out two women and one man, even though you're not supposed to do it in Tzad Yichud. So Taisus explains on top, Abba Shaul oima av b'shechad v'shtei noshim. The full Masechtas Kedushin, Taisus says, it says in Kedushin, Af agav the ein ish echad misyachad im shtei noshim. Even though halacha is that one male cannot seclude himself with two women. B'shas avelus the trid shari during avelus that someone is there very busy with what goes on, you're allowed to. However, the Masayis Hashaz points out that if you bring down the Gemara in Kedushin, over there the Gemara, and I think it brings it on in Toises over there, changes the Lashon. It's not that you're busy, but interesting, the Gemara over there changes and it says that during Avelus, Tovil Yitzle, your Yetzahada is broken. You don't have time to even think about, not that you're busy with something else, but your Yetzahada has no power over you during that time. So therefore, Abba Shaul says that in such a time, one male can seclude himself with two females in a cemetery that's out of the city. Okay, so basically what we have here, 30 days and younger, there's no avelus. You can take out the kid not in a bed. You can take out a kid holding him in your arms. If it's and when they walk out of the Bisakvadas, they don't stand on the two rows and people, the Avelim walk through and say Nichem Avelim. We don't say Abdacha. Back in the days, we had this already, that they would say a whole B'dacha and Balchat Hashem. This B'dichas Avelim they would say at the Bisakvadas for a baby, you don't say. But the Nichem Avelim is the regular Nichem Avelim. If it's 30 days and older, but Shloshim Yoim, and older, Yoitze b'deluskama, he goes out. So this Tanakama says he goes out with a deluskama. What's a deluskama? Some kind of carrying bed or tool or whatever, some kind of a box. But according to Tanakama, it could be a box that one person can carry on his shoulders. Now, Yehuda disagrees. Loy deluskama niteles bekasev. You cannot take him out with a box that is being carried by one person on your shoulders. Elaniteles bagapayim. It has to be a whole. It has to be such a bed that two people have to hold and take out. So it's a little bit more covered. Once the baby is 30 days and older, there's a little bit more covered, and therefore you have to take him out in a different manner. And you do stand in two rows and you say Nichem Avelim. Now, what if the baby is 12 months old? Now Yoitze V'Mitanai goes out with a regular bed, like they would do for any adult. Rabbi Kiva disagrees with this Tanakam when it says 12 months he goes up to the bed. It says he has to be at least 2 years old, but it doesn't make 2 years. It's either 2 years physically or 2 years age-wise. Ben Shana ve'evalav kiben shtayim. V'kiva hu ben Shana, if he is 1 year old, but he looks like a 2-year-old. Ve'evalav kiben shtayim, he looks like a 2-year-old. Or hu ben shtayim, he's a 2-year-old. Ve'evalav, but he looks like a 1-year-old. Yaitza Mita is either the age has to be there or the looks have to be there of a 2-year-old. That's when you will take him out in a bed and not a deluskam or one of these boxes. Shimon ben Loza says, Hayoitza the Mita, it's different. He doesn't go according to months. He says like this, very simple. Sorry, he does, but he said like this. If you take him out by bed, then everyone has to do, then it's regular Shiva, Shloshim, Tarchum, like I said before. Many would go and would do Matzivin. What's Matzivin? The Torah explains Matzivin is either yellow or shining. Basically, you would do crying, you would be in pain with the person until your face becomes yellow or shine. This is basically that Matzivin, that everyone will be in pain with you. But if the dead body is not brought out on a regular bed, ein rabin matzivin olav, many do not go and do not do avelos, etc. So basically, he lays it out clearly. A deluskama, a 30-day-old baby, if you take him out with a deluskama, then you don't do this entire thing. He disagrees with what we said before, that over 30 days, you stand in lines and it's nichem avelim. Once you take out with a bed, that's when you do everything. It disagrees with the other opinion of before. Then comes another thing here. What happens with the baby? At what age do you start making a hesped? Hesped is you go eulogize. A person passed away. Talk about.
This Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Nicola Rabbim
Oh, sorry, I missed the line. Yeah. If he's known to many, if he's known to, he goes out already, the baby is already, whatever age it is. And here he says there's no age requirement. It's not 1 year, 2 years. The moment that a baby is already out in the open and he goes to shul, people know him. That's when you start doing nichum avelim. If no one knows him, then there's not so much cover you have to give him because no one knew him. So if he's known to many, then many have to do the nichum avelim. If he's not known to many, the money they do not have to be misaskim with, they don't have to deal with it, they don't have to do nichum avelim, etc. When is a baby? At what age do you start doing a eulogy? We don't talk about do it, but at what point in those circles, what time, at what age? So here is the difference between wealth and equality doesn't exist here. Says the name of Rabbi Shmuel, Anim, but it's actually a woke mindset of shtickle, because now we're gonna focus on the people that are oppressed, the people that are poor. We're gonna help them out. Why? So Anim, if it's a poor family, b'nei shalish, that you will start the eulogy when the child is 3 years old. If he passes after 3 years old, you start eulogizing. Ashirim, if it's an ashir, b'nei chomesh, only at 5 years old. Abuda mishmoy, no, a little bit different. Anim b'nei chomesh, ashirim b'nei sheish, 5 years old for poor people and 6 years old for wealthy people. Or b'nei skenim, if someone had a baby at an advanced age, it's also considered like b'nei anim. What's the reasoning behind this? It's actually really sad. What's the reasoning behind this?
Look at Rashi.
So Rashi says, there's a few opinions here. Let's start with Rashi on our page. Rashi says, Anim b'nei shalish. What is, why Anim b'nei shalish? Lefi sheha'oni mitztayel al bonov yoyse min ha'asher. The oni is lefi she'ein lesimcha acheres. He doesn't have any other happiness. The oni only has one happiness. He has his children. And the wealthy guy, apparently, Rashi doesn't write out the words. The wealthy guy does not have
Kid, money.
It's very sad. The Rashi,
human nature, right?
The Rashi, the Ksav Yoshin Rashi, all the way on bottom. So by the wide lines, B'nai Shalish, the first one of the wide lines. So it says like this: Aniyim B'nai Shalish. Why? He says a little bit different. B'nai Koyvas Ruach Shel Oni, because of the nachas that the Oni has. The Oni has a lot of nachas of the not nachas, but it's the child here at the bottom here. Do you have it, or it's a little bit different by you?
I think so. Rashi Ksav Yoshin.
Yeah, Ksav Yoshin. Yeah, so it could be in a few Gemaras a little different. It's Rashi Ksav Yoshin.
Thank you.
And it's over here somewhere. Anyways, what does the Rashi say? That an Oni shemitztar b'nu yoytzim min ha'asher lefi shebnoi mesayayoy v'tzorich loy. An Oni does not have, a poor person does not have many help at home, and his children chip in. And now the Ashir hires outside help. So it was very sad to see the how people work, and it was pasha to them. A wealthy person, you don't look at your children as much. An Ani, he needs your child, do this, do that. So,
How much is a 3-year-old helping him? I can't. Maybe it's talking about when the child gets older.
first of all, this is Gemara times. It's very different those days. So difficult.
3-year-olds in the Gemara times are doing things.
Yeah.
Picking up. Yeah, probably picking out little rocks from the wheat and stuff like that. It's not hard to do.
They were making messes. That's what they were doing.
No, they were doing things too, but I'm sure there's little things to be done. Pick out stones from the food. Pick up stones from this.
They were doing a 3-year-old back in those days, 1,000 something years, more than 1,000 years ago. Huh?
Feeding the animals, giving hay to the animals. Someone has to do these things.
So Rashi Ksav Yoshin is a little bit nicer, and it says that it's not. We don't focus on the fact that the usher doesn't have other joy, has other joys. Looking at the Ani, practically the Ani needs a kid more.
Tzalish inside their nupsherish kid starts to work.
The
Wash the dishes.
The Rimilonil was an Italian, I believe an Italian Rishon. He says that a little bit also sad thing that the usher, by him food is nothing. You buy food, just throw it out. Doesn't think twice. But an Ani, a poor person, he's like he doesn't have money for food, so he's very exact with his food. And if he knows that I'm not going to have enough food, it's either me or my children, the ani, the poor person, is going to say, I'm not going to eat. Let my kids eat. So he is fasting. He's hungering. He's in hunger for his kid. He does a lot more for his kid. And basically, he feels the presence of his kid much more than the Asher that doesn't think about it. It might not say that the Asher has more happiness and has a different type of happiness. It doesn't only focus. But the ani constantly worries about the kid. Do I have enough food for me and my kid? No. The kid will eat. So it constantly thinks about the kid. The Taz writes it out very clearly. in the halacha, when I looked up the halacha to see if it's taka, so the halacha says that the ani you do 5. The halacha is like for the Buddha, that the ani do 5 and a oshi do 6. And the Taz explains very simple.
Well, we said 3 and 5, not 5.
No, the next one, the Buddha says 6, 5, and 6. The Taz, the Shach, they all bring down the same thing. Either they bring like Rashi, there's Simcha Cheres, or this. The Taz clearly straight, boom. The Oshid has money, and that's it. That's what he cares about. That's what he cares about. But the Oshid has other happiness. And what? And Taz writes clearly, money. Okay. So anyway, so the Oshid here is in a disadvantage. And he does the eulogy, the hesped, only when he's 6 years old. But Eskanim, elderly, what's the elderly? Elderly also, like Bnei Aniyim, even though they can be wealthy, but they finally had a child at an old, advanced age, they're so enamored with the child, they're constantly, around the child, so therefore by them also, they're Bnei Aniyim, so either 5 years old, if they pass away by 5, you do a eulogy, or 3, according to the first opinion. And here is what the Omar Abgid Bamenasya, the Lach is like a Yehuda that said the name of Rabbi Shmuel, that when you do the eulogy, it's a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old. The 5 poor, 6 when you're wealthy, and the Bnei Skenim is Bnei Aniyim. Okay. Darash Reb Anoni Basosen Apischad Ben Yisir. Reb Anoni Basosen was darshaning on the doorsteps of the Nasi. He said like this: if someone is an oval one day before Shavuos, so we have in the Mishnah Machlekes what a Shavuos. The Shavuos like Shabbos, the Shavuos like Yontif. So he said, "Yoy Mechad Lifnei Atzeres." One day before Shavuos, someone sits Avelos. So the one day is considered 7 because we said he sits Shiva and he stops sitting Shiva. Why? Because then it's like officially set 7 days. So that's 7 days. Vatzeres. And he says, it's 14 days. Why? Because the day before Shavuos is 7. The Yontif Shavuos itself is 7. Comes Zion, Sivan, in those days when the Shavuos was only 1 day. Zion, Sivan, you count another 16 days, and then you reach Shloshim. Your whole Shloshim is only 18 days. Day number 1 is 7, day number 2 is 7, and then you start counting from day 14, basically 15, 16 days until you hit the number 30, and your Shloshim is over. Okay? Shomar Rav Ami heard and says, it's known that if you say something in the name of whoever said it, maybe Guloilam, he was upset at him. Veikbid, he was upset at him. Is it his statement? He said it like it's his statement. The Rabbi Lazar, it's the name of Rabbi Lazar. He said, also was speaking in front of the house of Eshgalusa. Eshgalusa is different than Nasi. Eshgalusa was later on. It wasn't called a Nasi, but it was the leader of the people in Golus. So the 14 days are counted if someone starts singing Shiva the day before Shavuos. So the day before Shavuos is 7 days. Shavuos itself is only 1 day, but it's considered a 7, so we're 14. And then you just finished 16 days until Shloshim. Shom Rav Sheishes, Ikped, he was also upset. To the day, is it his statement? It's a statement of Rabbi Lazar. What's the statement of Rabbi Lazar? How do we know that Tzeres has makeup days, Yontif, Shavuos? You have to bring certain kabbanas.
1 second. Erev Shavuos, I understand how it's 7 because Shavuos cuts it off. How does Shavuos itself, that 1 day, become 7?
We read earlier that Yontif is 7.
That you Yontif, you stop there with Shiva. It stops the entire process.
But for the Shloshim, it adds the...
So basically, that 1 day is considered 7 days.
Didn't we have also, but where something cancels even Shloshim?
That's if your Shiva starts way before. But only to some opinions, not to all opinions. In any case, here, what did Rabbi say? How do we know that Shavuos has Sukkot comes the first day of Sukkot. If you didn't bring a korban that day, you can go the next day. You can go the next day. Chol Moed. A couple of days, you can bring the korbanos of Yom Tov. Pesach, you can do the same thing. But what Shavuos? It's one day Yom Tov and you're done. So how do we know that Shavuos has a couple of days that you can make up? Called Shavuos 7 days after Shavuos is over. Shenema b'Chag HaMatzah, b'Chag HaShavuos, b'Chag HaSukkos. It says the Shavuos is sandwiched between Chag HaMatzah and Chag HaShavuos, just like Chag HaMatzah and Chag HaSukkos have 7 days of makeup. The same thing also Shavuos, you have 7 days that you can catch up your kabbalas. Chag HaMatzah shtashlumin kol shiva, just like Chag HaMatzah has 7 days that you can catch up. Chag HaShavuos shtashlumin kol shiva, you can catch up those kabbalas. So here,
That's why it's in the middle and not.
that's the limud in the different kabbalah. Yeah. So. The Abashi is the one that says that you can make up, so it's considered a yontiv of 7 days, and therefore, even though today we don't have the Besamigdash, we don't have to make up the kabbalas, but because it's a yontiv, just like the Yom Tovim of Sukkot and Shavuos, so therefore that one day of Shavuos is considered like 7 days, and if someone starts sitting Shiva the day before Shavuos, it's considered 7 days. The day of Shavuos is another 7, together 14, and you only have 16 days left to do till the Shloshim. In just a small thing in Taisus over here, he brings down in the halachas gdoilas from the halachas gdoilas, which is one of the early, the first halachas for them. And he says like Bahag, yeah, the halachas gdoilas. So he says like this. It's like 6 lines from the bottom on Taisus. Pirush halachas gdoilas, the hashta, the Islam Teyom. Today we have 2 days of Yom Tov, Shavuos. We have 2 days of Yom Tov. If someone passes away on the first day of Yom Tov, until the end of the second day. However, you do count it. It's very interesting halacha. We have Yom Tov. Yom Tov technically you're not supposed to do any avelos, so you don't do avelos. But Yom Tov also you're not supposed to count as avelos. And the Abba Halachas Gdolos says. He says that because the second Yom Tov is only at the Rabbanon, and Avel is really Midalaisa, therefore that second day of Yom Tov, if the person passed away on the first day, and the second day you can do already the Kvuda with a Goy, whatever, you can do the Kvuda, so the second day could be counted as day number 1 of Shiva, but you don't do Shiva. Matzi Yom Tov, the next day, Yisvachak, you start doing Shiva, and you start counting the 7 days. That's what the Baal Halachos Gdolos says.
Would apply to any Yom Tov?
Technically, yeah. Yeah. If the person passes away the second day, you do avelos. They keep in the Yom Tov Sheni the Rabbanon because the entire Yom Tov Sheni is on the Rabbanon. Also avelos the Raisa, the Yom Rishon, the avelos which is a midah Raisa, the have minat the Yom Rishon the have minat Torah, the minim bezvachim vatlim Sheni Rabbanon. The first day of avelos is a Raisa, and therefore it will take away the entire Yom Tov Sheni Rabbanon. That's what the Baal Halachas as well as passes. He doesn't like it. V'gam inoilin klal. We don't do that. If someone passes away during the first day of Yom Tov, you wait till the end of Yom Tov is over. If someone passes away the second day of Yom Tov, you wait till the Yom Tov is over, then you start the whole entire thing. In a different place, I explained it. The different place is in Blachas, and in Blachas over there, he explains that it's not true. We have instances where a Rabbanan will not push away a Deraisa. For example, a chasan by if someone passes away by a chasan, you go through the shivas and mishta, and only then you start the whole shiva. Even though the 7 days is not the raisa and shiva is, so therefore we see that the Rabbanan could push away the raisa, and the halacha stays that if someone passes away during Yom Tov, second day, first day, you start the shiva only after Yom Tov is over. Now the Gemara finishes back in the Gemara finishes what we spoke a couple of weeks ago about a more interesting calculation. Adabre Rav Papa Rav Avia Sava. Rav Papa allowed Rav Avia Sava to speak. V'dash and Rav Avia Sava stood up and he spoke. What did it say? The same way we have with Shavuos, he passes that Rosh Hashanah is just like a regular Yom Tov. So one day before Yom Tov, before Rosh Hashanah is 1 day. And 1 day of Rosh Hashanah is also considered, that's 7 days. And the 1 day of Rosh Hashanah, which is basically 2 days because it's Yom Halichta, is considered another 7 days. So even though the Chiddush is what? That even though Rosh Hashanah does not have Yemei Tashlumim, Shavuos has 7 days to make up. So you can say that's where the 7 days come in. Rosh Hashanah does not have 7 days that you can make up. Still, we say because it's just like Yom Tov, we don't differentiate according to him. We don't differentiate, and if someone passes away out of Rosh Hashanah, you sit Shiva the half an hour before Rosh Hashanah starts. That will be 7. Rosh Hashanah will be another 7, and on Gimel Tishra you will start counting another 16 days till the Shloshim. Amar Ravina Hilkochim Echad Lifnei Achag. Here comes the kicker. Sukkot, there's 2 Yom Tovim. The first day is a Yom Tov by itself, and the last day of Sukkot is a Yom Tov by itself. So now here's what happened. Here's what happened. Yom Echad Lifnei Achag. If someone passes away on Erev Sukkot, so that's 7. The next day would be considered another 7, 14. Then Chol Moed, you don't do any. Obviously, there's no Shiva anymore. Then those days are not counted because it's part of Shloshim. It's part, you don't count at all. And then comes the last day, it's considered another 7. So let's make the count. Yom Echad Lifnei Chag is 7 days. V'Chag, the first days of Sukkot, is another 7 days, 14. V'Shmini and Shmini Atzeres is another 7 days. I can ask him V'Echad, it's 21 days. And all you have left is 9 days till the Shloshim. According to some, it's 9 days, because the Chol Moed is not counted. According to some, you count the days of Chol Moed as part of Shloshim. You don't do anything then, and then it would be much less. Then would be minus. It only be 2 days until Shloshim. So there's machlokes here, but basically the idea is that if someone passes away before these days, before Sukkot, it can wipe out the entire thing. And even according to him, if someone passes away technically Erev Yom Kippur, so the Erev Yom Kippur is 7 days, Yom Kippur is another 7 days. 4 days later is Sukkot, another 7 days, and then a couple days later is another 7 days. Took care of the whole Shloshim in less than 2 weeks. Okay. Ravina Ikla the Suda the Paz. Ravina happened to be in Suda under the Euphrates River. Rav Chaviva Mesud the Paz. Ravina Rav Chaviva from that place turned to Ravina and said, did you also learn that the one day before Rosh Hashanah is considered 7 and the Rosh Hashanah itself is another 7? Which the Chiddush was again that it's not like Shavuos that has Shiva Semeta Shlum. So why would you count the Shana? So he asked him. So Amalei says, no, I didn't say it. I explained it according to the opinion of Ram Gamliel. Ram Gamliel, the Mishnah says that Shavuos and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are all the same Yom Tovim. So according to his opinion, I explained that if someone will pass away out of Rosh Hashanah, would be just the same if someone passed away out of Shavuos. I'm not. This is not my opinion. I'm saying the opinion according to Rabbi Gamliel. Fine.